Hey guys, Professor here, and today we're going to talk about the new equipment that came to PSO2 New Genesis for this October update. So what I'm talking about specifically here is the new 7-star weapon series, Obsidia, the new 7-star armor called Efitus, and some new Tier 4 augments. We're going to go through each of these one by one and talk about where you can get them and what they do, and if you should even use them. Let's actually start off with the Obsidia Weapon series. So here we have the Obsidia weapon, this one in particular being the sword, but all of the Obsidia weapons are exactly the same, potential and all, and there's an Obsidia weapon for all of the weapon types. But getting into the stats of these weapons, it has the same exact variance as the rest of the 7 stars, between 50 and 100% by default. Basically, that just is the range of what your damage can be. And then with the attack power, with no enhancement, it is 488, and then at plus 50, it is 674. So compared to the other 7 stars for attack power, this is 3 more points than a regular Khazar, and 2 less than a rugged. So not actually much of a difference. But then we get into the most important part, the potential. So it is the coruscating unit, which goes up to 18% potency, a critical rate plus 10%, damage resistance plus 20%, and natural PP recovery speed plus 30% for 20 seconds after a critical hit with a 10-second cooldown. So this is actually quite close with the Khazar thing, but instead of PP reduction and that photon blast gauge, you instead get that damage resistance and the natural PP recovery speed after those critical hits. So compared to the other 7-star weapons, they're so close in their damage numbers and their DPS output that I would say it's up to you what you want to use based on the potential that you like. But how do you actually get this Obsidia weapon series? There's actually 2 ways. The first way being enhanced enemies, or the things with the enhancers on their body. But they can't come from just anywhere, they need to come from the new high rank combat sectors that are level 60 plus. Examples being places such as Ratem Alnoth rank 4, or even Makid lower level rank 4, and then later down in the weeks it will go to the rest of the combat zones once they get their level 60 plus versions. But of course, with these enhanced enemies, it's a chance drop, and it seems like it's a pretty low chance. But there's something else, that second way, that's guaranteed. So later down the line, we'll be getting a new quest called the Ordinal Tower in the last week of October, where you can get these Obsidia weapons for essentially free. You'll need to progress far enough to be able to complete these titles. So once you get to rank 7 or higher in this Ordinal Tower, and then also get a score of 12,000 or higher during these ranks, then you'll get the Obsidia weapons for free, as well as them being plus 40 already. These are all class specific though, so say you're playing Force, then you'll get all of the Obsidia weapons for Force when you complete these requirements or this title. And just keep in mind, because they are titles, these are only one-time rewards for your account. So you can't complete this Force title multiple times, but you could do it once for each of the different classes. Personally, if I was looking to get these Obsidia weapons, I would just wait for this quest, either to complete these titles myself or purchase Obsidia weapons out of the shop, since so many people will be getting these freebies. But that pretty much sums up the Obsidia weapons. So now let's actually go into the new 7-star armor. So this armor is the best in the game for pretty much any build, and that is the Efitus Armor Arga, Belta, and Sheza variants. So 3 different ones actually in total. The reason why they're so good for all the builds is that it's not glass cannon, but it has the highest potency currently in the game by default. That is 3% for 2 different potency types. Compare this to what we previously had, like with the Belgrin and Zestato armor, is Belgrin had 2.75%, but it had all of these negatives with the status and minus 40 HP. I mean, it did give good photon power plus 13, but usually that damage is what is more important. And then with the previous Zestato armor, this gave only 2.25%, but it didn't have that glass cannon feature. But this Efitus armor kind of has that both in one. So high damage and also not glass cannon. So basically, if you were looking to upgrade this month, then I would definitely choose one of these Efitus armors based on the potency type that you're using. But where do you actually get these? Well, with these three different types, they come from different spots. So the Arga comes from the new Alio combat sectors. For the Belta, the new high rank Retem combat sectors, and then the Sheza is the Kavaris ones. But as you may notice here, it all comes from the Darkfall's rank 2 trigger quest. So if I was going for these specifically, then I would go for that Darkfall's rank 2 trigger quest if I had the triggers. But there's actually another way that you can get these two even guaranteed. Once again, it's going back to that Ordinal Tower, but instead of titles this time, it's actually from the first clear rewards of certain ranks. I know for a fact that the rank 2 version, once you clear it the first time, you'll get the Efitus Armor Arga version. I'm not exactly sure about the other armor sets since the headline didn't show all of the different ranks, and the Ordinal Tower isn't out yet as of this video. But I imagine you'll be able to get at least one piece guaranteed of each of the three armors. But now let's talk about the new Tier 4 augments. So starting off, we have the basic Tier 4 augments, so things like Might 4, Technique 4, and like here, Precision 4. So the difference for these is that they get more potency. So instead of 2% like the Tier 3, it goes up to a whopping 3%, so a whole percent difference. And then there's also Deafness 4. So with this, it is another 1% increase for the potency 4 from the Tier 3 version. But with all of these, instead of the 9% success rate, it is 8%. So it's less likely to actually stick on your different equipment. But the ways to get these basic capsules right now is actually through field races and certain urgent quests. We'll get into those urgent quests later. Moving on to the next set of capsules, we have Soul 4s, specifically for boss souls. So here I have a Dust Soul 4, which gives 15 HP and 3% melee weapon potency. So the only difference here is that potency, so it goes from 2.5% from the Tier 3 capsule to that 3%. There's no changes in the substats for pretty much any of these soul capsules. But for where you get these Tier 4 boss souls is actually dependent on the boss. So you can find them in the new high rank combat sectors, the level 60 plus versions, if the boss shows up there. So for this Dust Soul, you got to kill the Dust Soul enemy in Maquid lower level. And then for another example, for the next soul, Tier 4, you'd have to go to the Russell Forest level 60 version. But of course, these combat sectors aren't the only places that these bosses show up in. You can also do the higher rank urgent quests. You can either do the urgent quests naturally or through the quest counter in any of the cities. So with this Practice Drill Renus Vera, for instance, if I had the triggers, I'd be able to click on it, and then on the rank 3 version or the level 65 version, I can get a guaranteed 3 Renus Soul 4s every time I do this quest. And then the same goes for the rest. So if I was to do Dustal Vera, then I'll get 3 guaranteed Dust Soul 4s. But then when it comes to mining rigs, which doesn't have a specific boss, it actually gives those basic capsules as I was mentioning earlier. So with the mining rig Retem, it gives precision 4s and 3 of them. With the other mining rigs though, they aren't out yet with their higher ranks, but I imagine like mining rig Alio would give like might 4s, and then the mining rig Kavaris would give like technique 4s, or vice versa. But even these urgent quests aren't the only way to get the Soul 4 capsules. There's also purple triggers with their new high ranks as well. And this is where you can actually even get the new Tier 4 Giga Capsules. So with these purple triggers, you just need the common purples like per usual, and then just choose the rank 3 level 69 version. Nice. But they require 2972 battle power, and these Soul 4s and Giga 4s are not guaranteed, and it seems like they're kind of on a low drop chance, but not impossible to get. But actually looking at one of these Giga Tier 4 capsules, we have Gigas Technique 4 here. This gives HP plus 20 and a technique weapon potency of plus 3%. The difference here is that the HP is actually higher with these, and so is the potency. But just keep in mind that there actually is a lower success rate with these, down to 7% from that 8%. You can also get these Tier 4s from the open world Gigantics, but it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference between the open world ones and the purple triggers in terms of their drop rate. So if you just want a more farmable way, go with the purple triggers. That's it for these new items though. But there's actually a few adjustments that came with this update that can help with gearing as well that I wanted to mention. So for the first adjustment, it actually deals with these combined or fused augments. So these actually drop in the high rank combat sectors now by Megalotics enemies, and actually quite frequently. And then they added a new way to get class cubes, and that's actually killing equalizer enemies. So either in these combat areas or in places such as Mining Rig Defense Retem. And then at the Alliance Badge Exchange, they added some new quest triggers. So you can get the Renus Vera, Dustal Vera, etc. at the Alliance Badge Shop now, or 2 badges to get a set of 5 or 1 run of an urgent quest. These trigger quests are actually going to be the best way to get those guaranteed tier 4s that we talked about earlier. But with these, you can only get each set of them once per week on your account. Unless, of course, you find them in the personal shop, because these triggers can be sold just like the Dark Falls ones, but they might be expensive in the first couple weeks. But that is all I have for now. If you guys wanted to go the extra mile and are feeling generous, we did open up membership now, where you can get a whole bunch of loyalty badges, emotes, and different perks. Speaking of that, shout out to our first member, Rocky Lobster Guy. Thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one though. Peace.